Alright, let's talk about how to avoid plagiarism. So you're writing your research paper. Let's say you're writing on the subject of abortion, and you want to support your ideas with some research. So you search the web for topics dealing with abortion, and you find this article on the web, and you think, aha, I would like to quote this portion of this article from the web. So what you do, copy it, and then you paste it into your document. And then you go on and you continue writing. This is the next sentence. Here is another sentence. Now notice, here's your quotation. You just pop that right into your document and you turn in your paper. It looks like this. You look at your references list. There's no reference to the article on the list. You've taken this quotation from someone else. It's exactly the same words as were found in the article. And guess what? You have just committed plagiarism. You have stolen something from someone else. This is a thought, the exact thought that someone else expressed. And you, by just copying it and pasting it into this document and not telling your reader where it came from, what you're saying to your reader is, these are my words. I came up with these words all on my own. When in fact, what you have done is you have taken these words from someone else and put them in your paper, and you are now claiming them as your own. That is plagiarism. You have just cheated. So let's say, well, alright, you're a little smarter than that, and you know that if you take some idea from someone else, you have to give them credit. So you go to the website where you found the article, and you find the author's name, Linda Lowen, and the year that it was published. Well, it was published in 2014. So you go to the document and you insert an in-text citation. Alright. Now you've told the audience where you took the information from. Guess what? You've still committed plagiarism. Where are the quotation marks? You took a direct quotation from Lowen's article, but without quotation marks, what you're telling the audience is, these are my words. I wrote these words. Lowen did not write these words. I might have gotten the idea from Lowen, but because there are no quotation marks, then you have committed plagiarism. Without quotation marks, you're telling the audience, these are my words. These are not your words. You have taken them from Lowen. You need to give Lowen credit for writing these words. Let's say you're a little smarter than that, though, and you think, well, I know that if I take these words directly from someone, then, well, I need to put quotation marks around it, or I need to summarize it in my own words. So let's say that you decide, well, I'm just going to change a couple of words. So let's say, let's change intentionally to deliberately, and let's change punishment to penalty. Well, guess what? You've still committed plagiarism. Most of these words still belong to Lowen. You're going to have to change more than that. So how does your professor know in the first place that these aren't your words? How is it possible that your professor could know that you've taken these words from somebody else? Is your professor really that smart? Well, what your professor or what your school has done is that they've turned your paper into a service like Turnitin that will check to see whether you've committed plagiarism or not. All they have to do is cut and paste your paper into Turnitin, click the upload button, and before you know it, a report will be generated that will tell your professor whether this has come from some other source. After the paper is submitted, then an originality report is generated, and Turnitin notes that 100% plagiarism has been committed. All of the words in this quotation are exactly the same as something elsewhere on the internet. So, you can't just copy and paste stuff into your papers. You have to change the words around to a significant degree, or else you have to put them in quotation marks. If we put the quotation in quotation marks and we give the in-text citation, then we also have to give the full reference on the references page that we'll have at the end of our paper. Without that reference, there's still some degree of plagiarism that's been committed. We have an in-text citation, but where's the full reference? You have to have both things. You have to have the in-text citation, and then you have to have a full reference. Something that looks like this, where you give the author's last name, the author's first name, the year that the article was published, the title of the article, and then where the article was taken from. Without those two things, then plagiarism has been committed. So you have to have the in-text citation, and you have to have the reference as well. Let's say that you change the quotation. Let's say that you put it in your own words. So let's put this quotation in more of our own language. No civilized society allows any person to deliberately hurt or injure or take the life of another human being without punishment, and abortion is no different. Let's change this up some more. So if we change the quotation significantly, and we put the quotation in our own words, even if we put the quotation in significantly different language, we still have to give the in-text citation, because we've taken this idea from Lowen. We've put it in our own words, but it's still Lowen's idea. So even if you put something in your own words, you still have to give the in-text citation if you've taken it from Lowen, and you still have to give the full reference. This time, once we've changed the words and we look at the Turnitin report, we see that there's no match. This sentence that we've revised does not contain plagiarism. This isn't plagiarized. We put it into our own words. But if you copy and paste stuff from the internet into your papers and you don't put it in quotation marks, or you don't put it in your own words, and you don't give the source, then you're telling your audience, these are my words, and if they're not, you've committed plagiarism. So, if you write a paper and you use information from someone else, you have to tell us where that information comes from. If you copy and paste information from the internet, put it in your paper, and you don't tell us where that information comes from, you're committing plagiarism. You're stealing. You're stealing ideas from someone else. You have to tell us where you got that information. You have to tell us where you got that information, and if it's a direct quotation, you have to put it in quotation marks. This tells the audience that these are Lowen's exact words, and then you have to give a reference on the references page. If you omit any of those things, then your professor may nail you for plagiarism. This can get you in big trouble. At the very least, it's going to result in a lowering of your grade. You may receive a 0 on the paper. You might receive an automatic F in the course. Sanctions might be brought against you with the university. All sorts of bad things can happen to you if you do this. So, information that comes from someone else's brain has to be documented properly. You need an in-text citation, you need a reference. If it's a direct quotation, then you have to have quotation marks. This tells the audience that these are Lowen's exact words. Otherwise, if you're not going to put it in quotation marks, then you need to put this into your own words. And don't just change a couple of things, but you have to make significant changes. So please be careful with this. You can't just copy and paste stuff from the internet into a Word document. That is cheating. You're stealing from other people. You're stealing their ideas.